Welcome back to another episode here on the Hart and Hustle podcast. Today we got two guests. We got Mr. Anil to my right and Peter to my left. I don't know if this is exactly what it's going to look like when it's on YouTube, but who knows, man. I got two. Just know we got two great, amazing leaders. I'll start off with Peter. Who are you representing today? What's the organization? What's your title?
What's going on, my friend? I am a board member with McKinley out here in San Dimas. I've been with the organization for almost 3 years as well. I am the chair of the external committee, and it is just amazing to work with Anil and his team as well with McKinley.
Mr. Anil, and yourself, my brother. Talk
Yeah,
to us.
yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us, our friend. It's really great to see you again. My name is Anil Vadaparty. I'm the president and CEO of McKinley. We're a nonprofit organization in Southern California. Been around since 1900, and I've been with McKinley for 32 years now. And we do social services, education, behavioral health. We work with the communities here, and yeah, it's a wonderful organization. I work with Peter. Peter serves on our board as a volunteer. And yeah, it's great to be here. And again, thanks for having us.
Oh, I muted myself. How crazy it was. I wanted to make sure you guys had the ability to talk, and I'm here talking to myself. Great. Now, I was gonna say that the pledge was all mine, right? And you could have practiced law, but you chose purpose. You chose people. What's the why behind it?
It was interesting. I joined McKinley right after my undergraduate degree. Just needed a job, and so I never did this type of work before, working, in a community, center like McKinley. So it was a new, it was a really new experience for me. And then, I went to law school right after that. I took a year off in between graduating, and then I went to law school. And the whole time I was in law school, I just really was wondering about how I could use my legal education to make an impact and do something different. Of course, do something that I love. And I kept going back to the work that I was doing at McKinley and kept thinking about, how can I blend the two? And, there's a lot of people who graduate law school who never practice law. So I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily unique in that sense, but I think the path that I chose was unique. There's a lot of times a perception about who an attorney is, and that people will say, "Oh, you love to argue. You're going to be a great lawyer." And there's a time and place for that, for lawyers. But many of them, what really makes them successful is the ability to analyze the situation, see things from both sides, be able to bring people to the table, and have stakeholders sitting at the table, and trying to find some middle ground. I feel like those are things that I do every day, with my job here at McKinley. So, there's definitely a way. I've found a way to blend, my legal education with this, but ultimately it came down to I'm doing something that I absolutely love doing, and I couldn't be happier.
Anil, you're doing it so well that Peter said you're like Moses. So, Peter, what did he do to earn that kind of reference?
There are times where when we even met, we love storytelling, right? I think that's what connected Anil and myself, right? We love movies, we love storytelling, and we asked about who is his character, his persona that he puts on, right? When he comes to leading McKinley, this organization, and even taking it to these levels. And it was so interesting. Out of all the people, he called himself Sarah Connor, the unsung hero, right? The person who's really trying to save humanity in the Terminator series is not for herself or himself, right? Just for the future. And ever since that time, I've noticed how humble Anil is and the things that he does. Moses had a cousin when he needed to go speak to Pharaoh. Sometimes I feel like I need to go and toot the horn of Anil, of who he is, toot the horn of McKinley as well, and the amazing people, the community, the lives that it impacts as well. That's why I think I called him Moses as well, because he's actually led us in so many different changes, so many different eras as well. And we know that he's going to take us to those other really greener pastures. And honestly, sometimes the path is not known, but we know that Anil, with his guidance, we have undeniable faith in his leadership.
I appreciate that, man. And what brings you to McKinley? I mean, the organization, obviously, to be a board member is not because you're being paid for it. It's out of purpose. What is the why behind it?
It's really funny you mention that as well because a lot of people, when I ask them as well, like they ever want to get involved with a charity, they think they need to come from a certain background, or something might have to happen to them, like something traumatic or something else. And really, it's not that at all. It's really just putting other people before yourself, caring a little bit more about others, paying it forward. Myself, my story, coming from Southern California, I worked for Johnson and Johnson, other places like Edward Life Sciences, so healthcare marketing, social media, so agency as well. Met a lot of people as well, but I always felt like even working with patients, there was something else about giving back to the community, and so there were a couple other organizations I work with. I am so fortunate that a person introduced me, Kimberly Murray introduced me to Anil's team at McKinley as well, and it was just finding the secret team, the secret community, the secret organization that's been helping underneath, like behind the scenes. And I just want to be part of this organization as well because everything that we do is just helping the next person, helping the person, give them another chance to get back on their feet.
I love that. Anil, I love why Peter joined, but I think it's also cool that there's three men on here and we all show love to each other. And it doesn't happen often. Too much ego in a room, right? Too much pride in a room. How important is it for you, Anil, to make sure there is no ego, that there is no pride, that you actually just build a board of just leaders that understand what the mission looks like, and all you guys being on one page? How important is that for you as a leader?
It's critical, Efrain, and something that I always believe in, that I think the best leaders are humble leaders, ones that know that they don't have the answer to everything, that they need help, that they need to collaborate with other people in the room, and they need to understand, people who understand that everybody around the table has a talent to share. I think that's critical for leadership. I think it's critical for organizations like McKinley who do community-based work that really have to go out and connect with stakeholders and figure out what do the communities need and how can we be a part of it. Peter's been on our board now for a few years, and Peter is wonderful at that. In terms of bringing people together and really soliciting input from everybody. And that's really what board membership for a nonprofit is about. It's about figuring out how you individually can contribute to the success of an organization, and how you can kind of open up your Rolodex. I'm dating myself here, nobody has a Rolodex anymore, but how you can open up that Rolodex and figure out, like, who do I know, whether it's through personal contacts, professional contacts, your church, whoever it may be, that, would have some interest in supporting the work that we do. And that's really what makes somebody who serves on a board of a nonprofit successful. And we're lucky. We have a lot of people on our board that do exactly that. Peter is one perfect example of that. But we have so many folks on our board that really are willing to do that and kind of be a champion of our cause. And you have to do that without ego. You have to do that understanding that the mission of the organization comes first.
Yeah, no, I agree. From the first time I met you guys, it was just so much love. And, men don't show love to each other like that. So I'm like, wait a minute. This is definitely, Anil just being great at what he does. So Peter just wants to shine light on it. And I appreciated Peter for being that as well. But I think that you guys are more than a nonprofit, right? McKinley is not just a nonprofit. It's the last light left on for some families. And you mentioned Rose. There was a story about Rose. Why her story is everything McKinley stands for. Can you tell us about the story so that people can understand what McKinley really stands for here?
Yeah, Peter, please.
Sure thing. It was at our school in San Dimas, and it was one of those touching graduation stories. And Rose came on, at the podium, and she just told us about. I mean, honestly, she doesn't really know anyone in the stage, and we don't know her as well. But she said, "Hi, everyone. I just want everyone to know that, in the last 4 years, I've been through 7 different high schools, 8 different families. If you would have told me 4 years ago that I'd be standing here graduating today, I would have laughed in your face. Actually, I would have punched you in your face because that's where I was at that point. And through everyone giving up on me, it just took one family, one organization to not give up on me and to truly believe on me, even when I gave them every reason not to, and that's why I'm here today." And I had to turn away from our CFO, George, because he's a military guy. I had to turn away. I had the tears in my eyes, but it's one of those stories that keep you locked in, but lets you know the results, the impact that you truly make on, that sometimes not everyone gets to hear, but those are the stories that we like to share as well, because those are the ones that come from our community. Those are the lives that we're trying to change.
That's good. I do believe that sometimes we are so comfortable doing the same thing over and over, and there's those stories that realize that, man, this is what I do it for, and that you guys, share that story, and I can't wait for Rose to continue that career path and what it actually looks like when now she's kind of in the same seat giving back, right? Now she's the Anil in the situation, and someone's highly talking about what she's done. I just had another leader. She was a doctor, and she got into the space of really giving back because she remembers that 5-year-old version of herself looking at her mom making $5 more so she couldn't get food stamp. So she's rocking back and forth like, how am I supposed to feed my family? I can't even afford food stamps. This is someone that didn't drive, that was taking, buses back and forth, had 3 kids, was in, bad relationships. So when we talk about just helping people, right, and what that actually does for the generation now, on when someone shows up like you two, shows up with passion, you're not worrying about the paycheck, you're really just wanting to make a difference. And Neil, I go back to you, man. Like, where does this? You've been doing this for so long. When you could really be doing something different, right? We mentioned at the beginning of it, you could really be maybe owning an island somewhere, Neil, because you're that talented, right? You're that good. But you decided to really give to this space, man. What's the why behind that? Like, where does this all stem from? The giving heart.
I really wish I could say that there was maybe like one thing or maybe even one moment that kind of put me on this path. And I don't know that there is outside of, I think that there's it's a kind of a collection of experiences that I've had where, I've always believed in giving. I've always believed that, that the fortune that we're blessed with, we really have an obligation to pay it forward and help others. I was raised that way. I have a wonderful wife, who also believes in that too. So, she reinforces that, for me as well. I will say that, becoming a father 3 years ago also really changes, your perspective on everything. And I know all of us here are dads. And so, there's nothing that you do now that looks the same that, when you were before, you were a parent. And, so a lot of this is also about, what do I want my son to learn, about the world around him, about the privilege that he has, about how he can help others, and about how, my hope is that one day, long after I'm gone, he's going to be driving around, in our communities, and he's going to be seeing McKinley signs, everywhere, and know that, hey, that was a little bit part of, what my dad did to help, to help others and help the community. And so, I would say kind of like this collection of experiences that really, makes me want to figure out how can I leave things better than how I found it. I think that's my ultimate goal with this. And yeah.
I like that. Okay. There's a question that I've been asked recently, and I've been asking the last leaders, because Peter obviously says you're an amazing leader. Is leadership taught, or are you born with it?
It's a good question. I think there's characteristics about leadership that are innate within people. But I think like every skill, you have to learn it. You have to polish it. The things that I do now as a leader, well, I should say the things that I did early on in my career as a leader, I wouldn't do now, because I learned. I'm a big believer in coaching. I had the benefit of being mentored by a leadership coach, and that helped me a lot. And it's something that I would recommend to anybody who's stepping into a leadership role for the first time. That there's skills that you have to learn. Just in terms of like how do you effectively lead. But I would say some of the traits that are important. As I mentioned, I really believe all leaders have to be humble. They have to understand that they don't know everything. They have to be willing to listen to everybody. I think those are things that you bring to the table as a leader, whether you have any experience or not. I think the skills you learn, but you have to be willing to learn them. And fortunately, as I said, I've had the benefit of being mentored and being coached by folks. So, I would say kind of a combination of both is really what makes an effective leader.
What made you want to say a coach is what I need? Is it because you've heard that it was what other people were doing? Because you were in sports and you understood, I can't do this alone, so I need someone to coach me through it. What was that mindset? Because I think sometimes leaders do need coaches, and there's that pride and ego that stops him from doing so.
Something I learned a long time ago, and it really stuck with me, is that the world's best athletes have coaches. Michael Jordan had a coach. So this isn't about, and I think that again goes back to humility, of understanding that just because you acknowledge that you could benefit from coaching, it doesn't make you worse at what you do. It makes you understand that there's always something that somebody can help you along with, help you with the challenge that you're facing, or, helping you get better in a certain area. So that's really kind of why I felt like I could benefit from coaching. It's because it wasn't because I felt like I was lacking something. It was really more about, how do I take things to the next level? How do I take what's in my mind and actually put it into action? And that's what a coach does for you.
If the Hard and Hustle podcast has ever sparked any idea or made you think differently, do us a favor. Make sure you guys share this, post it on LinkedIn, or even text that nonprofit friend that you just have. Whatever works, this is what keeps the conversation going and allows us to just grow this community together. Seriously, we appreciate you. Okay. And Peter, your thoughts, man? When you talk about leadership, do you think this is something that people are born with? Life experiences brings you here. What's your opinion on this?
I think this reminds me of that Disney movie where it was like the greyhound who grew up like a dachshund, right? Because I think everyone could be nurtured, or everyone could be a better version of themselves. But truly, with leaders, I've been through so many different organizations, right? Pharmaceuticals, other sales, other organizations. When I went to the nonprofit, I met Anil, and especially Anil. The reason why it's different, and it's not anything better as well, but most leaders of large organizations, it's almost like they come from out of the box, a template, business school, right? And the reason why Anil, what separated him from most leaders that I had met as well, the thing that was different is that he was a compassionate leader. Not only, obviously, with leaders, you have to worry about growth, right? You have to worry about evolving and honestly, making sure that everyone's taken care of and operationally sound. But Anil is actually very compassionate, which is different as well. It's not just all about the bottom line. And I know even in the non-profit sector, you think that would be more the norm. It really isn't. Anil is a very compassionate leader where I think he needs to lead because of the type of person he is. He cares the most about people. So the decisions he makes, even though they're very strategic and they could be far out as well, he thinks about how the team can come together, how the impact of the community come together. That compassion mindset, I think, is what sets him apart from most other leaders I've ever met. So yes, I do believe it can be nurtured, because just by me being around him and this kind of thinking and being with McKinley and the other leaders, I have changed as well with the way I actually raise my children, my family, and my teams as well.
I got a question, because you mentioned 2 movies already. Do you love movies? Is that your thing? Is that your thing, man?
I feel like, growing up, maybe as a first generation born here immigrant, my parents, we love movies. We love movies. I think it's what connected all different tribes in America, right? It's just Hollywood or different stories as well. Because storytelling around the campfire, I think that's what connects us all, right? The experiences that we have.
Yeah. That was good. I mean, it's always funny. I had a leader one time, and everything he said was always a reference to movies. But I'm the person that never got it because I didn't watch the movie, right? So he would always say something and laugh. He's like, "Did you ever watch it?" I'm like, "Sorry, can't laugh at it." But I love it. It's relatable. A lot of people, especially Disney. We can go to Disney, and a lot of people would probably watch those movies. But I just thought about that was the second movie reference. And Neil, do you get the movie references when he drops them?
This is a constant conversation with Peter and I. We're always referencing movies. I tend to do that a lot in a lot of my meetings, here with my team and things like that. I keep joking with them that I got my MBA from Hollywood, because I'm constantly quoting movies.
No, that's good. I love it. I also want to talk about, man.
Because it makes me wonder if you have a rolling list of movies or books you need to go. I have that too, right? Just make sure, right? The other day, I think we're talking to some team members, and one of the team members, she didn't know who Val Kilmer was. And so I went, oh, either I aged myself or I have to completely box up these references and put them away for a completely different audience.
No, yeah, there's definitely some times I'll have like mail on my desk and someone will say something and I'm writing on a piece of mail. Like I gotta look this up next time so I know what they're referencing to. But no, man, I love this, and I love, Anil, that just Peter, speaking on your leadership, right, and really caring for people, how do you actually show up for staff that they're grieving, they're exhausted, they're scared, while holding your own fear?
Yeah, it's not easy, and especially now in nonprofits, there's a lot going on, as I'm sure you know. Things at the federal level and in California, there's a lot of changes happening where we do have a lot of our team that are scared, certainly worried, in terms of the future, for them and for their families and things. I think the biggest thing I try to do is just as you had mentioned, showing up. I think so much in life is about showing up and being there for people. I don't have all the answers. I am very open with everybody that there are some challenges that, look, I really wish I could tell you something, but I can't right now. It's kind of this idea that we're all in this together. We're all trying to figure this out. One of the things I try to do, for all of the new team members that we have that join us, and we're a large organization, so we're constantly hiring new team members and things like that. I always try to meet with everybody on their first day, usually in my office. It's because I want them to get to know me and who I am, and know where to find me and things like that. It's also an opportunity for me to get to know them a little bit better, so that they see me as a person. That really helps, because when I am knowing about some of the struggles that our team is going through, it gives me a little bit of a better perspective on maybe how I can be present for them. But it's a challenge. We try to connect our team to whatever resources we have available. Like we have an employee assistance program and things like that. But I really find that a lot of times it really is just about being present, listening, trying to understand what they're going through, while understanding too that you're not in their shoes, so you can never fully understand their experience. But just the act of being present, I think it's so important. And I think when we think about anybody else that we may have helped in the past, whether it's a family member or maybe if even you're going through a personal struggle, a lot of times that's really just what you need, is that human connection of somebody being able to listen to you who doesn't have the answers, but they're there, they listen to you, they care about you. When we're doing our work with the children and families that we work with, the biggest thing that we try to impart on everyone is that you can take any type of theory that you have in terms of treatment services, therapy, whatever. The main reason people get better is because they believe the person sitting across from them cares about them, that there's a genuine care for them. And that's something, first and foremost, we make sure we emphasize with all of our team. That's the first thing we have to do, is establish that we care about you, we care about your outcome, we want you to get better. That story that Peter gave about Rose, and certainly there's other stories like that too, that all happened because we had a team of teachers at our school and counselors, and that said, we care about you, we care about your future. That's why she's a success story, and she's going to go on and do great things in life.
Tell us a little bit more about McKinley. You mentioned, just kind of briefly, can we talk about some of the services, programs you guys got in place for those that are still tuning in, know exactly what McKinley's about?
Yeah, absolutely. McKinley, we started out in 1900, I think, as I'd mentioned before, so 125th anniversary. Started out as an orphanage, for children. It was started by a pastor and his wife. Since then, we've grown, we've evolved. We're now what we call a community-based organization, a human services organization. So we work with populations and communities that have been disadvantaged, and we provide a variety of services. We work with youth and foster care, so we provide, services for them, housing, being one of them. We do behavioral health, so a lot of mental health counseling that we do for the community. That's really eligible, that a lot of people in the community are eligible for, and we encourage them to take advantage of it. We operate 2 schools that are designed for children that have various learning disabilities. So that's the program that Peter was talking about Rose, and how she became a success. These are schools that are designed to help students with various learning disabilities graduate and then move on. We also do a lot of work with adults, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't know about McKinley. We have a program where we provide help for those who have experienced homelessness, and it's really with the goal of making sure that homelessness is part of their history and not part of their future. Um,
Love that.
One of the things that, if I could just share a little success story there too, and we actually had this individual do an interview for us. She consented to it. She was someone that had struggled with various things, substance abuse, and that led to homelessness. One of the things that she said after getting counseling services from us, she's now in stable housing. She's doing much better now for herself. But she had said that the help that she got from the team here impacted 3 generations because it helped to repair, obviously, herself, her relationship with her mother, and then her relationship with her child. That's the impact of, and again, all that came from somebody caring, somebody not giving up. In that program, our team will go and meet the individuals wherever they are. There's been so many times they found them like under an underpass and said, "No, come back in. Let's get you back into therapy. Let's get you back in." And they never gave up on them. That's really, again, kind of going back to foundationally how people get better. It's because they
Yeah.
know that other people care about them.
Yeah, I can 100% agree with you. I have these conversations all the time because I still have family myself that is still kind of in similar spaces where they just need someone to believe in them, someone to see them for who they are and give them the opportunity. I'm a big believer that when you're on that journey, it is also very crucial that you surround yourself with positive people. And I say that because I have family that trying to do well, but when you keep talking to that person that's still stuck in the past, it's so easy to bring you back down, right? And it looks like you guys really help them, even when they're getting pulled back down, that you guys still show up and say, "Hey, we didn't forget about you." And that means so much. As you mentioned, 3 generations changed because you weren't just focusing on that young child, you were focusing on the adult. And a lot of people miss that point. We will always help our youth to be the best next leader, but what happens to that person that just needs a little bit of loving, because life was life. So I love that you guys are in the space, and there is no, not just just kids, but let's also help those parents because we could truly make a difference that way as well. And as you guys continue to make a difference, you guys continue to grow. We've also mentioned about innovation, such as AI. Some would say that AI cannot humanize an organization, that it doesn't have any empathy, that it's scary, that there's so many people really against it. I'm a big believer that, listen, I couldn't be where I am today without AI. I mean, I would be there, but not as soon as I got here, right? AI really played a part in that. What do you guys think about AI? Are you guys at McKinley thinking about AI? Is it something already implemented? What are your beliefs? I'll start with Peter, man. I know we haven't heard from Peter here in just a bit.
Yeah, you can actually see it even in our meetings as well. I think it's about taking the the thoughtful approach to not eliminate jobs or anything or services, but more is how do you actually elevate people's existing performance? How do you help them? How do you gain back time? How do you help them take better notes? I know even in our meetings, our board meetings, we have an AI note taker, which is great, right? It summarizes notes, and that's even right there. It allows someone to be more present in our meetings. So that's the impact that I even felt on our board meetings.
Love it. And Anil, where do you see AI going, and what are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're, I believe, in many ways at the forefront of it, especially in our space. I believe AI, when used properly, can humanize an organization, especially organizations like McKinley, because what it really does is it allows us to be more present. And one of the things that and it's a responsibility we have, is the documentation after we provide services and things like that. And it's the one thing that most therapists and people who do the services will tell you that brings them the least amount of joy, is to be sitting at a computer typing out a note, and things like that, or reports and things. But it's important, and so we know we have to do that. And this is where a tool like AI can come in. It can help them take what would be a half-hour, 40-minute task, compress it into 10 minutes, and the benefit of that is that now they have more time to be present. I've used this example before, but we can all think about somebody in our past that was influential to us. It may have been a teacher, it may have been a coach, it may have been whoever it may have been. we don't look back at that person and say that they made that impact on you because they were good at paperwork. We said that they were impactful because, again, the time they spent with you, that they were present for you. And that's really how I see tools like AI being helpful. I think there's an ethical way to use AI, too. And, certainly in our field, we're seeing more and more conversation about it. There are some, there are some apps and things where they were using chatbot bots and things like that, to kind of simulate, what a conversation with a therapist would be, And so I think there's a lot of conversation that still needs to happen about how you can use AI in our space. But I definitely think it's a tool that, when used properly, can help you be more present.
Yeah. And I think more present and do more of the things you actually love, right? I think we see that in the medical field where now we're actually getting note takers in rooms so doctors can actually look at you and have a conversation versus looking down at a pad the whole time trying to make sure there's notes taken. And I think that also plays for us, a role for us as well. All this admin work, like who really loves to do admin work? I don't know anybody that says, I want to go to college to do admin work. I haven't heard that. It's you want to become a teacher, you want to become, a doctor, whatever it may look like. And all admin, AI could kind of help on those admin tasks, really help direct that conversation on what it looks like. And what I love about it is if prompted well, you could pass this along through the organization and anything being created is now on brand, right? Because you've created that. We've learned how to prompt. And I'm always a big believer, as you mentioned, it is a resource and a tool. And AI will not replace someone. Someone that is not educated in AI or doesn't know how to prompt AI will be replaced by someone that does. That's just the way I look at it. So I love that you guys are on the forefront and seeing that. And I can only imagine there's still some challenges, right? Getting people to get uncomfortable and try something new. But it happened when we got computers and people thought that it was a thing, or social media came around and that was going to take over the world. It did affect the world a little bit, and AI definitely will, but we have to make sure that we're using AI and AI is not using us. And I think that's really where the scary part's at. But Peter, man, I want to kind of go. You had something on it that you want to talk about?
One thing I wanted to mention as well, because we keep tabs on the trends of AI because it's lightning speed. It changes every day. But one interesting thing, leading digital strategy, also social media. One thing I read as well about AI is that this year in 2025, the number 2 use case, especially around younger demographics, they use it for therapy. And just seeing that as well makes us think, maybe the stigmas, the walls are getting broken down, or people who are actually needing that help, who are actually want to go and actually seek professional help from somebody and know that it's not taboo anymore, that it's okay to actually reach out. That is actually very encouraging to us, but also makes us also think maybe there's so many other people that McKinley needs to go and help and reach out to.
It's funny you say that. I was just speaking to someone, and she said she's maybe late 60s, I believe, mid-60s. And she said her daughter told her about ChatGPT because her daughter uses it as her counselor. Mm-hmm. You said it earlier, Anil, we love to think with everybody else's brain, but no, we love to think with ours as much, but not as everybody else's. Everybody else may use AI differently, and it helps in very different ways, right? So what I'm hearing, a lot of leaders says, no, there's no way that AI can play a part because it's going to dehumanize what we do, and you can't show empathy, you can't show that. But so many young kids now, especially because mental health is like another hot topic, that they're actually using it to have those conversations, right? Mm-hmm. So I love that you did bring that up because people are fearing AI, but it's because they haven't tried it. I spoke to a leader the other day as well where I as soon as I said ChatGPT, she said, no. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. People tried, and I'm just not going to do it. So I sat here, and a lot of times you just got to show someone. So I screen shared with her, and I'm starting to show her. I'm like, you're letting someone else, especially when she told me she hired a marketing agency to create like branded stuff, the way that she talks, her scripts. And I'm like, someone else is creating that, and it's not even in your voice. You could do this as ChatGPT, save so much more money, so much more time, and in your own voice. Yes. So I love that you guys are into it, man, and really adapting to it the way that Anil mentioned. I'm in the forefront. Not a lot of people can actually say that.
We last year we had the honor of presenting at the Ingram One conference, myself and some of my team members. And the whole purpose of that conference, or one of the themes behind it, was just exactly that, about how organizations like McKinley are using AI to humanize their organizations. And so there was a nice panel that we had there in front of, it was a big audience, but, we were able to share just some case studies about how we're utilizing this. And, we really believe it's going to provide, it already is providing a lot of benefits, but it will, as we continue to roll it out and more people use it, that it just helps people be more present. I know that, for me, if it takes me, 2 hours to put a document together or a proposal together, and now I can cut that down in 30 minutes, that's now time I have to be present for something else and to, again, humanize myself more.
I say ChatGPT is my best friend. Like, it's my assistant, my chief of staff. It is whatever you need it to be, as long as you prompt it well.
Yes.
Peter, what snapped into you, man, at 40 that made you say, I'm done chasing titles? I remember you mentioning that on our last conversation.
I think it was just my race to actually go and get a title, or a certain sense of, in my mind, what I thought was accomplishment or security. And just climb that corporate ladder as fast as possible. Sacrifice time with loved ones, birthdays, other celebrations, just to make sure that you get to that destination as soon as possible. But once I hit it, and I'm glad I hit it sooner rather than later, you realized you can't skip the journey. Maybe you might have even been, I wouldn't say, too focused on just the actual destinations versus actually wondering, maybe even side quest or meeting these other people, or, really enjoying the process of getting to where you need to go. And that's why I loved it as well, because then, it made me realize it's not about titles, it's more about the impact. And how do you make an impact? It truly is the relationships you have with people, what you're doing for others, what you're doing for your community. And I know Harvard just came out with that study. I think it was a longitudinal study with over 80 years of what's the key to happiness, or even for longevity. And it's, for people after 50, it is your relationships with others. It doesn't have to do with the vitamins, the amount of kale juice you drunk your whole, it really is the relationships that you have secured and really have nurtured throughout the years, the ones that you've really cared about, the ones you haven't let go. So then it made me really think about, what do I really want to do this next chapter of my life, the next big block, right? And really is, making that impact, meeting others, really doing anything to even help someone take that positive step in the right direction to where they need to go. Because I know without the people in my life who've given me that direction, and Neil's one of those as well, one of the most influential people in my life, who knows where I'd have ended up.
This is Anil. He's so kind, isn't he, Anil? You're paying this guy to say all these good things about you, man. One thing I love that you said, Peter, is that can't skip the journey. To me, the journey is what makes us. There's so much to learn on that journey, right? Good and bad. All those times that we lose or we fail, there's still lessons on that journey. So I love that you mentioned that for a lot of people, we're really in a space, ChatGPT. I used to say everyone wanted the Amazon effect, right? That was like 2 days, same day shipping. But now we have the ChatGPT effect that is so instant, and everyone wants it, but you have to go through the journey. You have to have those experiences. We talked about leadership a little earlier. To me, I'm a big believer that my life experiences would let me to be a leader that I am today. So just imagine I would have skipped the journey. I wouldn't be here with you guys, having these conversations. So I love that you actually mentioned that. And a lot of people should remember, do not skip the journey. Find those coaches that can actually coach you through that journey, if anything. So how we plug those two together. Anil, how do you spot the difference, though, man, between someone that is a really good board member, right, and is adding value, versus someone that is just filling a seat?
I think it gets very obvious, and I really think not just with boards, but anywhere, whether it's team members that are working here at the organization, or in anything else that you're doing. The main thing we look for is engagement. Are they truly interested in what we're doing, and are they truly asking themselves, what can I personally do to help promote what you're doing? So that the organization can be more successful, we can reach more people, have a greater impact, help, produce more success stories. Those are really the individuals who make the most effective, board members. Again, Peter being one of them, of course, that, is constantly thinking about, who is it that I know? How can I help educate people about what this organization is doing and how they can make a difference in other people's lives. And you can tell by just how active they are in meetings and how often they show up to the events that we have and how many people they introduce to the organization. It's like, hey, Anil, you need to go talk to this person. This person's wonderful. And those are the board members that really make an impact. And I think those are the ones that also find the most fulfillment in what they do. Because there are responsibilities of being on a board that aren't so fun. Or they may be fun for some, but I mean, it's the things that people don't necessarily associate with being on the board of a nonprofit. They have to review financials, they have to review, all of these things that come with their fiduciary responsibilities. So, we have to take care of business, but then this is also the way for them to stay engaged, is by thinking, who else can I talk to about this organization? Who can I introduce to this organization? That's really kind of how, again, they stay more engaged and they feel more fulfilled, in their responsibilities.
Dropping gems right there. Okay. Peter, you going to add to that?
I think, like Anil said it perfectly, and I think, like you mentioned before, we're all either leaders or fathers or men, and we're running at such a fast pace, especially in this age now, doing so many things. And sometimes we feel like we can't even accomplish everything, right? And when a day ends, you go, you almost look like, what wasn't I able to accomplish? And you feel bad about yourself sometimes. But being part of McKinley, this organization, whenever I'm here, I never second guess myself or the time I give, being part of the organization. There's never anything of, should I be spending my time better? Can I be making more? Should I be doing something different? Anything else? I've never had that. And that is such a calming sense of peace of mind that I love about McKinley, because you truly are just present and you're just giving yourself to people that you might not, like just this organization and the community as well. And that is something that I truly have been blessed with, to be part of with this organization as well as McKinley. And so I really thank all the leaders as well, with Anil, Dustin, Chris, Grace, Mario, so many, with George, so many of the different leads that I've met as well, and so many amazing of our board members who have the same kind of mentality where it is more about others versus ourselves. And so that is great to have that kind of mindset as well.
Do you guys feel like there's any kind of leaders that we need more of right now? You guys both smiled like you've had this conversation before. So I don't know what the hell's going on here.
Peter, I'll let you go first.
I think I'm gonna keep hitting on the same theme of that compassionate leader. I think that's why I was drawn to this organization. I think that's why the team members are so drawn to this as well. Even when we start any meeting of McKinley, there's a check-in where everyone gets a moment to really be seen. And it's not just, this is my weekend, this is the amazing things that I've done. It's not the social media, expectation versus reality. Some of these are real. This is what I just went through. This is my moment to actually share where I currently am. And it's amazing to see people actually reach out to connect and, to not only just be vulnerable, but to have anyone else share and go, actually, I've been through something that you've been through, or, I can be here for you, or just whatever you need. If you just need a hug or just to be heard, we're here for you.
And yourself, Anil.
Yeah, I agree with everything Peter said just about compassion. I think that's just, in general, we need more of that. I would also say, maybe just to add to that too, just leaders that are willing to hear from everybody and are balanced in their approach. I think that's so important. Somebody a long time ago taught me that everything that I hear as a leader, just take it in as information at first. Don't make any decisions, don't make any judgments based on it. Just take everything in as information and then figure it out later. I think just more of that is needed, just being willing to listen. Again, knowing you don't have all the answers and there might be a perspective that somebody's bringing that you never even thought of, but you have to be open-minded enough to listen.
I agree. I love that. Before we get into the blind question, guys, because we got to start wrapping things up, where can we find more of the organization? Where can we find both gentlemen? Are you guys on LinkedIn? Let's share that information for those that may be still watching and want to know how to tap into you guys.
Yeah, no, thank you. Definitely both of us are on LinkedIn, very active, so please, connect with us there. McKinley has a LinkedIn page as well where you can get a lot of information about us. You can check out our website, mckinleycc.org. A lot of good information there, and we're also on the other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram. So yeah, definitely, yeah, please connect with us.
All right. You guys ready for that blind question?
I'm ready.
If your younger self could see who you're leading now, what would shock them most? I'll start with, let's start with Peter.
I think is that I still have a good head of hair. For all that we've been through in these last couple of years, to still have that smile, to still know that every day is a challenge, and still to say just bring it on. I think that is definitely something I cherish, or something I don and wear.
That is too funny. I would tell you what, I was brushing my hair today before I got on with you guys, and I think I seen another white hair, and I'm like, what in the world is happening, Peter? Hopefully I'm not losing my hair, Peter. Hopefully, man.
Join the club.
Well, what's up with Peter, man? He's not, you got none? Peter, none at all? What's going
that's
on,
why
man?
I'm so stepped back. I wanted to make sure you guys don't see what's really going on. I had to make sure, yeah.
Anil, same question, man. If your younger self could see who you're leading now, what would shock them the most?
If I went first, I was going to make a hair comment, so I'll
Oh, man, that's too funny.
else. I think my younger self would probably look at me now and just say, "You really have become your dad," and not so much in a bad way, but just looking at myself as I'm in my 50s now. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. It's life is just very different for me right now, and I'm almost like a completely different person than I was 20, 30 years ago. I think there would probably be a little bit of an amazement of like, yeah, you're just like dad now.
I love that. So, Anil, I'll bring it to you, man. I believe we'll finish with the blind question that you want to ask the next leader. What's the question that you would like to ask the next leader?
Something I'm always curious about is how leaders help their team through challenging times, and particularly when they know that maybe a mistake was made. I'm always kind of curious about how leaders help their team navigate through a mistake, knowing that organizations grow because people are willing to take risks, but with that comes mistakes from time to time, and hopefully it's something that's done as a way to teach teams and to learn from. I'm always curious about how leaders go through that process with their teams when they know a mistake was made.
Okay, I appreciate it. Well, guys, Peter, do you have another blind question that we could take?
No, that's actually I'm actually
Nope.
interested in that one as well. I love the one you gave to Anil. That was so actually deep. That was actually really well. Yeah, I'm thinking about that the rest of the day. Yeah, like yeah.
Anil did his homework.
People also say the same thing, right? Do we become our parents, but also do you marry like your parent as well? Right? They always say, like,
Yep.
is that who your partner ends up being? But yeah, that's actually very interesting.
Well, guys, I want to say I appreciate both of you guys for taking the time to be able to do this so we can continue to speak to leaders, those that are aspiring to be leaders, but also those that may be kind of in that space of like, man, I don't know what to do right now. As you mentioned a little earlier, the government and all the funding cuts, and a lot of people are not going probably through this imposter syndrome, and it's not really on them. But how do we continue to lead forward? And I think both of you guys have dropped gems on it. So I definitely appreciate both of you guys. Guys, continue to like, subscribe, and comment. Continue to if you guys want to know more about these organizations, that you do follow them on social media. But also, Peter and Anil are on LinkedIn if you want to just get into the inbox. Don't be afraid to speak to other leaders. I think there's a stigma that you cannot speak to this CEO of a company. But I think the CEO he's waiting. Doors open, waiting for someone to ask the question, because that's what leaders do. We pour into each other. We pour into others. It's not about us. You know that, Peter, right? As we become parents, we realize it's not about us. So thank you guys for watching. My name's Ephraim. This is Anil, and this is Peter. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Laters.